Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. Friday, the final day of the week. These are the voyages of the program Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new movies, to seek out new bits and new edifications, to boldly go where no radio program has gone before. Elkant's Movie Club. It's Elkant's Movie Club. Elkant's Movie Club. It's Elkant's Movie Club. It is that time of week where we go back and review a film that we've picked in our movie club. This has been going on for 18 months now.
Dang, pandemic. Oh,
is that right?
Pandemic.
18 months? That's a long time.
Still around.
Yep.
Hello, Kent.
Hi, Kent.
Hello.
Yeah, you did turn it.
Hi, Kent.
Hello.
Here we are.
Jeez, Nick, you turned off our guest. What are you doing?
Well, no, he just never turned him on. Dick forgot to turn someone on. A tale as old as time.
Mhm.
You're not wrong.
Exactly.
I can't. Sorry.
I can't.
Hello.
So last week, it was really in a fit of a fever because
My girlfriend asked the other night, why did he choose that? I didn't think he liked superhero movies. I said, I think he forgot to pick a movie, and it was the first one that came to his brain.
Well, I was just looking around on different websites going, okay, I got to make sure this is available, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, boom. You know what? And I'm glad I picked it.
Good.
Obviously, Avengers, one of the top grossing films of all time.
Yeah.
And I want to say it's the film that, launched a franchise, but it was actually like the sixth movie in the first sequence or whatever they call it. Whatever you
phase
nerds,
one, John.
whatever you nerds
We're
call
now
it.
into phase 4. This was phase 1. This finished off phase 1.
Did I didn't watch through the end of the credits. Did it say at the end of the credits?
End of phase 1.
This is the end of phase
No,
1.
so did you not see Thanos show up?
No.
Oh, yeah, that's at the end of the
Oh.
You got to watch after the credits.
Well, I guess I'll have to watch the credits now.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
But,
I was going to say, you don't need to sit through 2 hours and 20 minutes of it again to get that last scene. Thanos shows up.
Okay. All right. And he's like the ultimate bad guy.
He's a great bad guy.
Yeah.
He's a really good
He's
bad
the
guy.
ultimate bad guy. But this first one, obviously, it's the first time the Avengers all get together.
Mhm.
And this is now, I know that was all 3 Iron Men prior to the release of this?
First 2.
2 of the 3.
2 Iron Men, Thor,
Hulk.
Captain America.
And Captain
And
America.
Hulk. But that
And Hulk.
Do you
Yeah.
remember Hulk came out originally with
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton was Hulk.
Right.
I
Right.
love the change in casting, by the way. Because didn't he want a bunch of creative control in the Avengers movies, and they were like, no, we're not going to give that to you. And
Edward Norton, yeah.
That's how he
They
rolled.
were like, yeah, he wanted to basically co-direct or something.
Yeah.
And they said, no.
Nah.
No.
I don't think it's really necessary to go over the
was gonna
plot.
say, what's the
'cause
plot of
I'm
Avengers?
guessing there's a lot of people that already know what the plot is.
Uh-huh.
And I guess to get right into the meat of it, I have always preferred. Now, some may laugh at this, but I grew up when the first superhero movies were the first Superman movies with Christopher Reeve. And the thing I liked about those movies, even though those were more, dare I say, a little more comical in nature than the Christopher Nolan Batman series, but I like the humanity that they put into these movies.
The grounded reality,
Where
if you
there's
will.
some grounded reality where there's, and I realize that a lot of these characters, it's also baked in the actual comics of which they are based.
Mhm.
But I like it when the movies, we know they're comic book movies, but they try to ground it in some reality
Mhm.
as much as they can with all the, supernatural stuff, the superpowers, the, aliens invading from outer space. as much reality as they can. And I think that's the first takeaway I got from this was I liked how the group, it wasn't just, all right, we're bringing the superheroes together and they all put their hands in the middle and say, all right, let's go kill the bad guys on 3, ready, break.
Yeah.
There was conflict. There was differences in opinion. And to me, that's what helps this story along, in my opinion, is it wasn't just a fight against Loki and these creatures coming in through the portal, but it was
transfer portal.
Yeah, the transfer portal, the Marvel Universe transfer portal, but also the interpersonality, not just the fight between the superheroes, but also of, Sam Jackson's character, the members of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just all the different things that are intertwined. That to me was probably one of the most enjoyable things about the film.
My boy Roger Ebert called it a dysfunctional family.
Yes, very good. I mean, it was a dysfunctional family.
And I think the key there, I think you hit on the key to the movie, actually, is number one, you had that, but it was pulled off by the actors who are universally good. Everybody in this, all of them are good. There's not a dud performance, but especially Ruffalo, who really changed the Hulk into something, Banner, the Hulk, into a more, I don't know if believable is the right way to put it, but a more understandable character.
Yep.
And, and these stretch of movies might have been Robert Downey Jr.'s finest hour playing Iron Man, Jack Stark, and I love that where they ask him who asked him what's under that suit. I can't remember. One of them does. Maybe it's Thor, somebody, and he says, "What genius, philanthropist, playboy?" Right? I mean, great line, and the comic timing of that this whole movie is superb. Right? And that's the other thing that makes it work is you've got that comic relief, you've got the dysfunctional family stuff, and it's very well acted, but it's also superbly timed. And that really goes to Josh Whedon, who is the director, and to whomever edited the thing, because that is, those things combine to make it more than just a special effects spectacle. I think.
Yeah, and Kent, going back to what John said a few minutes ago about the relationship between the characters, I think that is probably like the thing that I love the most about all these is that it's not just, all right, time to show up and fight the bad guy. They're fighting each other. They're having their own internal issues. And the thing so this is the first time that I had watched it since before, I don't remember if it was before Endgame or which one it was before, but it's been a few years is what I'm trying to say here. And now years later, even though at the time this movie felt so busy and just full of all these characters, it feels a lot smaller in scope now, just knowing what's to come. And so I think that this one, it definitely has like much more humor than the ones lately did, because the plot, I think, kind of required that. And so that kind of stood out to me. This feels like more of a romp at times, more of a happy-go-lucky, whereas, what's to come in the future ones is a lot more depressing for the characters and for the worlds that they live in.
And I think that is let me give you another direct parallel to that.
Okay.
That you look at the first Star Wars movie, which had some humor in it, which had some, some of this very similar things that we're talking about. And then you look at the later ones and they became more and more serious and more, and not nearly as entertaining, in my view. And this is an entertaining film, which is, always seemed to me to be the point of these kind of movies of, the popcorn summer blockbuster superhero movie. It better be entertaining first for people that aren't comic nerds, right? that aren't in it just because we love the Avengers and we want to see it on the screen. And that's why I think this worked. And that's why I think it's still the best of the Avengers movies. Period.
And of course, it's all in the story. Josh Whedon was the director and it was at charge of the screenplay. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he asked to kind of come in and redo some things in the screenplay?
Well,
initially,
I guess I don't know about this one because he ended up doing the next one, and then there was a big falling out between him, if I remember right, Kent, between him and like the powers that be at Disney, and he ended up not doing the next few, and there is a large shift in tone. It's interesting, Kent, because I actually like the last two Avengers movies a lot more than I like this one, but I still like this one. The second Avengers movie is my least favorite.
Yeah, that one was kind of a dud. That second one.
Yeah.
The other thing that is interesting to me anyway is that this was the movie in which Sam Jackson's character kind of got pulled up to the level of the superheroes, right? Mm-hmm. Where before he was just this incidental guy that was telling them, you need to go out and do this. And I think that added to the movie in a couple ways, because he's not the superhero, right? So he has to deal with them in a different fashion, but it also there's almost a way that we can relate more to him than you can to, Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really helped this movie in particular of the Avengers movies.
I think we touched on a little bit earlier, but you have all of these characters coming together now in one film. And previously, at least with Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America, they had their own film.
And Thor.
And Thor, sorry. They all had their own film. They were the lead. Mm-hmm. They were the people that you were there to watch. Now they got to share the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just instead of the ego of the actors taking over the film, the ego of the characters take over the film, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah.
Because that's where the angst comes from. That's where the dysfunctional in this dysfunctional family. And that's really important, because it could be very easy, especially with the Robert Downey Jr. character. The Tony Stark character is a very over the top,
mm-hmm.
I'm the cock of the walk guy.
Yeah.
And could easily just bulldoze everything in its path. And it doesn't here. He gets his lines in. We definitely know it's him, but it doesn't dominate the entire film, which I have to imagine is a tough thing to manage, not only in storytelling, but also in directing and managing the whole group, because it easily could get out of hand when you've got, all of these people who prior had their own gig.
These millionaires
all had their own gig.
Yeah.
And now they've all got to share 2 hours of screen time. And that's probably the other thing too. It's 2 hours of screen time.
Yeah.
2 hours and 20 minutes of screen time, okay. I believe.
Right. But it's not 2:45.
It's not 3 hours like the last one.
It's not pushing 3 hours.
Yeah.
So they were able to get it all done and tell a good story in what in today's terms for a big budget film is a relatively small window.
I will add one thing to perhaps why we all got along and didn't let the egos run over more. Mr. Downey had points on this movie.
Points on the package?
Uh-huh. So we're going to play well with others, because we're going to make, what this thing gross? 400 and some million
worldwide. Yeah, worldwide 1.5 billion.
Okay, so figure he got 5 points on the net or something. That's some serious cash, man.
Yeah,
so you're gonna get along for that kind of money.
1% of 1.5 billion.
Not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a lot. Plus, too, like I remember he was in the first when they brought back Spider-Man. He was in that movie for, I mean, what, Kent, 5-10 minutes, and I think he got like $10 million for it.
Yep.
It's Robert Downey. Congratulations to him, because man, these movies just generational wealth for generations to come.
Now,
counting other people's money, man.
Yeah.
That's we love doing that.
Now, I apologize to the comic book nerds out there because I'm more of a DC at least I'm more familiar with the Supermans and the Spider-Mans and
Spider-Man's
Marvel.
Whatever.
You like the stupid ones.
Hey, Batman's awesome.
Push your glasses up a little.
He
firmer,
knows
nerd.
Batman and Superman.
Batman can get over it.
Was it important for the story to be told in the order it was? Iron Man was the first.
Mm-hmm.
He got first, but most people, probably because it had its own television series, was more familiar with Hulk. Would this first phase have worked if Hulk had been the first one to get his story told versus Iron Man?
In fact, Hulk was, and it was a movie done by Ang Lee and Eric Bana played Hulk, and it stiffed. And so it was years between that and when they brought Iron Man back. And they changed the whole tone because Ang Lee tried to make a serious movie out of the Hulk, which that was an undertaking, I guess, that should have never taken place.
Okay.
And so this was a very, you're directly right, very calculated thing to build this universe. And they started with Iron Man, I think in part because of the nature of the character, but also in part because it was probably the blankest of the canvases. I mean, people really know the Hulk, right?
Yep.
They really know Thor, right? They really Captain America. They know where, Iron Man, you knew it was the guy in the suit, but you didn't come in with all this preconceived notion of what else they were like, which let them build that. And then they were able to build it around Downey, who was perfectly cast for it. And then that got the thing started. And obviously there was a plan, right? They were going to do this movie, then bring them all together. I'm not entirely sure that there was a great plan immediately after this one, because I think they were trying to decide whether they might just wrap it up with this one or keep the thing going.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, Kent, when you think about Downey Jr., with all of the issues that he had in his personal life, in what the 90s and early 2000s, this series, Iron Man, started like right as he's kind of coming out of that. He had done Zodiac the year before, he does Iron Man, he does Tropic Thunder, and suddenly it's like, oh, hey, here's Robert Downey Jr., and he becomes the biggest movie star out there.
I think the reason that works so well, Josh, is Iron Man's character in the comics basically is what Robert Downey Jr. went through. The alcoholism and all that other stuff. That's exactly what the character went through in the comics. So it was perfect casting.
Yeah,
honestly,
it really was.
Which helped a lot too.
So it sounds like you liked it.
Yes, I did. I did like it. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it my favorite movie? No, but I honestly, I still, only because I can't help myself when I'm watching these big battle scenes in the middle of a major metropolitan area going, man, it's going to cost $1 trillion to fix this city up. And imagine all the people, when you get these battle royals going on where you've got 9 superheroes going up against all. I like focusing on the one, superhero. I love the Iron Man. I love the first Iron Man. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But I do like this for what it is. And I will watch the other 3 at some point.
Well, that was a big controversy too at the time. Do you remember that, Kent? Because this movie came out around the same time as one of the Superman movies came out, and both of those movies resulted in heroes destroying cities in the name of fighting the bad guy. And it's like, what's the purpose of this? And like after that, there was kind of a shift of there will be the fights, but it's not going to result in the loss of of life of civilians. And actually that kind of becomes a plot point too, which I think it was good of them, because like when they're just going through killing these people, it's like, what in the world are you doing? You're not helping anything right now.
Exactly. Because you go back to the original Superman movies, when General Zod and his gang come down in Superman 2. Yeah, there's a lot of fighting in New York, but it feels more weighty because, first of all, not every building is, collapsing in on itself. But it's like, there's at one point where Superman's like, what about the people? Because Superman's, I got to save the people. It's not just about me defeating this person, but I got to defeat this person while protecting all these people.
Yeah.
At the same time. And that gets lost when these giant space worms are flying through the city and its tail is wagging and blowing buildings out. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I've been to New York City. If this were like this, man, think of all the dead people there'd be right now. These are the things I think about.
Hey, man, I was too.
Well, 2 points somewhat related to that, I guess. One is I thought that those scenes held up really well as for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
9 years after this movie came out? Yep. 9 years? 9 years, right? That's a lot of generations of computer effects down the road, if you think about it. And it really held up pretty well. Josh is exactly right on this was a deliberate decision across all these kind of movies to stop killing non-combatants, so to speak, right? Yeah. And it's not just the Marvel movies. If you look at the DC movies and anybody else that tried to knock it off, you don't see that so much. And that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add one thing about when I saw this movie the first time, because this is the first movie that I remember that I had to drive to Kansas City to see in a screening. They would not screen the thing in Lincoln or Omaha. They had a, quote, regional screening.
Wow.
And everybody from Missouri and Kansas, or Western Missouri, they had one in St. Louis. So the western half of Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska, and I don't know where else, maybe Iowa, I don't know. We all had to drive to Kansas City to see this. It was at an AMC theater in way on the other side of Kansas City. So it added another half hour to my drive. and you walked in. It was also the first movie where they took our phones. They just took them. Usually they'd tell you, turn them off, don't get them on. They took them and put them in little plastic bags and gave you a number on it. It was a 3D IMAX version, which was pretty overwhelming.
Oh, I bet.
And they had, and I am not kidding, they had 15 security people in that room to keep it from being bootlegged or whatever. And this was press. This wasn't a public screening. These were people that weren't going to do that, right? You're not going to do that. You're going to lose your ability to do this. That was the level of anticipation that they knew what they had, and they were going to A, protect it, and B, make sure the hype got out at the same time.
Well, and one more thing on top of that too, Kent, remember when Endgame came out and like literally in the commercials that were on TV, it was like, don't spoil this movie for people.
Yep.
I don't remember anything like that for a movie where it's like, go watch this on opening night and don't tell anyone about it. It's like, wow, it's like a very meta conversation in a way that the trailers are acknowledging the spoilers.
Yep.
It wasn't really necessary. I mean, everyone knows now that Hulk is Iron Man's father. I mean, come on.
Come on.
It's not that big a deal. All right. Last week, Kent, you started the year 0-1.
Yes.
Like
somebody else.
Yeah, like somebody else.
A certain other team.
Do you have a pick for this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go 49-10 Nebraska.
He likes the over.
He does like the over. A slight lean on the over, but not a Nebraska cover.
Uh-huh.
Evil Kent. Or maybe we should say, is it Loki Kent?
Loki Kent. I like that.
Hey, he was great, by the way.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah. He was awesome.
I guess we went through the whole movie. And you're
Yeah, we barely talked about Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loki
He kept
can't.
it pretty low key.
What does Loki can't think?
I could see 52-38 or something like that. Probably Nebraska.
John, if that score happens, you have a 4-hour Big Red
No, I don't.
overreaction on
2
tap
hours
on
max.
Saturday.
2 hours.
If they give up 38 to Fordham, you're going to be on till Sunday morning, dude.
You'll just roll right into Husker hangover. It'll be perfect.
You people.
It'll be perfect. Nick, what are we watching next week?
Well, I narrowed it down to 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I get to pick.
No,
Are you gonna coin flip?
no.
All right.
All right.
We're gonna do Rush. It's on Netflix. It's a
Yes.
Formula 1 movie.
Look at that. Kent's pumped.
I
Hell
love
yeah.
that movie.
I just saw it during like 2 months ago. I watched it on a whim.
I just want you guys to understand why my favorite sport is better than all of yours.
Well, is this a college football movie then? Interesting. I thought it was a racing movie, but he said the best
No, it's a
sport.
Rush. It's the story of the
Of the band?
of the Road Warriors. It's a pro wrestling movie. That's what it is.
Awesome.
Rush.
Rush.
Fabulous. I love that. That movie, I think, was in my top 5 for the year it came out.
Really?
Yeah. And, we could talk about this next week. Mike Hill, who was one of Ronnie Howard's editors forever, and he retired recently, lives in Omaha. And Mike brought an early copy of it down to show at here in Lincoln. And so watching it with the editor of the film was really a interesting process. But yeah, I think it's arguably the best racing movie ever.
Many
not-
people say that.
Listen, it's definitely
many sides?
It's definitely
Yes.
top 5. Not that it's a huge bar to clear
And it's historic.
when you have crap like Days of Thunder out there, but yes, it
Days of Thunder, that's a fine movie.
Feel the thunder, John.
Is
Feel
it
the
better
thunder.
than Talladega Nights?
no, nothing's better.
It's
Okay.
it's about as realistic as Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights is a lot more realistic than people think.
I'm excited for this.
It's a good movie.
I really liked Ford versus Ferrari. Racing movies are pretty cool. I mean,
Mhm.
if they're done well, I'm going to turn up the volume loud when I watch this one. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll get into that next week.
Driving,
Rush,
turning.
and where, Netflix, right?
Netflix.
Yeah.
Just tweeted out the link.
All right, that'll be next week. Kent, have a great weekend. Thanks, and enjoy your Labor Day.
Oh, I get to work on Labor Day, but even better, I get to enjoy Fordham at tomorrow morning.
You sound excited.
Well,
Ken.
enjoy the Valentino's breakfast pizza.
Hey,
There's
there
at
you
least
go.
a-
Oh, I'm
Positive.
thrilled. All
Positive.
right. See you next week.
Bye, Ken.
Kent
Bye, Kent.
Wolgamott of the Lincoln Journal Star. Our movie next week is Rush.
Rush. I didn't know which way you were going to go, Nick. I thought you might go with your other.
What was the other
option.
pick?
Do we want to say the other pick? I
Yeah,
might use
say
it again.
It's okay. Say it.
I've never seen Godfather, so it was going to be between Rush and The Godfather.
Listen,
I'd love to rewatch The Godfather.
All 3 parts, one night.
It's been a.
No, we're not watching. all three.
Just let's watch the first 2. Third one, I finally watched the third one last year. Yeah, that's how I felt too. I couldn't believe. I remember growing up. I've been rewatching The Sopranos, and one of the lines in that movie that they quote from The Godfather is, "Every time I thought I was out, they pulled me back in." I didn't realize until, I swear to God, like 5-6 years ago, that wasn't from one of the first 2. No, I guess it would have been whenever I saw the second one for the first time. I was like, wait, that line's from the third one?
Mhm.
Because it's one of the most famous lines
It
from all
is-
the movies.
I mean, it's one of the redeeming things about Godfather 3.
It's just a weird movie. It just doesn't feel like it's a part of the first 2.
It doesn't.
There's like the weird opera show at the very end of the third one.
It doesn't.
Plus the 90s
Spoilers.
vibe of it just doesn't fit with the
It's actually 80s. It was
80s.
based in the 80s.
Was it?
I think if it would have been made in like 79,
Yeah.
I think it would have had a better chance.
Well, because then his daughter wouldn't have been in it.
Well, that
And it's
Might
crazy.
as well
She's
too.
become like a great director. People like love her movies, but
just
she
not a
was-
great
she was
actress.
not very. I didn't think that she was that bad, but she definitely wasn't very good.
Who?
Francis,
Sophia Coppola.
Yeah, Francis
Oh,
Coppola's
Francis
daughter.
Ford Coppola's daughter.
Yeah.
Was
She played.
in-
Yeah, she played a character.
She played Michael's daughter.
Yeah, it was fine. Godfather's very good though.
Godfather is very good.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Well, Rush is next.
Rush
Rush,
is
though.
next.
Rush.
Awesome.
All right,
James Hunt, Nicky Lauda.
coming up. Got to get to where Trev was, and we got to look at week 1. And we got predictions.
One Beer Friday brought
And
to you
One
by the
Beer-
Doghouse Saloon.
Good grief! There's a lot coming up on 1620 The Zone.
Severe and Benning in the morning.
Let's go to Bob.
Here's what's going on in Nebraska. After